All right, let's talk about business budgets. And I know what you might be thinking. Dusty old spreadsheets, right? But forget all that. A great budget is actually a company's roadmap. Its financial map that guides it from where it is today to where it wants to go.
I mean, that's really the big question, isn't it? Imagine you're about to go on a huge road trip, but you don't have a map, you have no idea how much gas is in the tank. You probably wouldn't get very far, right? Well, in business, the budget is that map. It's what takes a big, ambitious idea and turns it into a real, actionable plan. So, here's the journey we're going to take. First, we'll cover why a plan is so incredibly important. Then, we'll dive into the budgets that handle the day-to-day stuff and the ones that manage the big financial picture. We'll also see how companies plan for change, and finally, we'll pull it all together to look at the complete master budget.
So, first up, why even bother with a plan? Well, because a budget is so much more than just a list of numbers. It's actually a super important strategic tool that literally sets the course for a company's success.
And that road trip analogy really is perfect. A budget gives you direction. It helps you anticipate what you're going to need, where to put your money and your people, and how to tell if you're actually on track. Without it, you're pretty much just driving blind and hoping you accidentally end up somewhere great.
Okay, let's head down into the engine room. This is where we get into the real nitty-gritty. We're talking about planning all those day-to-day activities that keep the business running and, making money.
These are called operating budgets, and they really get to the core of the business. They answer some fundamental questions. How much are we going to sell? What's it going to cost to make that stuff? And what will it cost to sell it? It's all about that daily flow of cash that decides if you're profitable or not. And what's really cool is that there's a logical flow here. It's like a chain reaction. And it all kicks off with one single, incredibly important question. How much do we think we can sell? That first step dictates everything that comes after.
Yep. The sales budget is the absolute cornerstone. It's the first domino. It's your best guess at future revenue. But this thing is notoriously hard to get right. Markets change, competitors make moves. And if you get too optimistic here, every other budget that you build on top of it is going to be built on a really shaky foundation.
But once you have that sales forecast, the rest of the puzzle starts to come together. The production budget tells you how many units to make, and from that, you can figure out your materials budget, what you need to buy, and your labor budget, who you need to hire. It's this beautiful cascade of interconnected planning. Okay, so we've been deep in the engine room with the daily operational stuff. Now I want you to zoom out with me. Let's get that 30,000-foot view and look at the company's overall financial health and its long-term strategy. And that's exactly what financial budgets do. If operating budgets are about day-to-day profit, financial budgets are about long-term survival. They make sure the company has enough money to pay its bills and to fund its future growth. Now here's something that's absolutely critical. A company can look really profitable on paper, but still go bankrupt if it runs out of actual cash. The cash budget is designed to stop that from ever happening. It tracks every dollar coming in and every dollar going out to make sure there's always enough fuel in the tank to keep the engine running. So if the cash budget is the fuel tank, then the capital expenditure budget, well, that's the GPS. This is where the company plans its big destination-defining moves. Are we going to buy a new factory? Invest in some game-changing new technology? This budget maps out those huge investments that will literally shape the company's future. Okay, so you've got your plan, your map is drawn, but what happens when things don't go according to plan? Because let's face it, they rarely do. The world is unpredictable. So a good budget has to be ready for both sunny days and, the occasional storm. And this is where we see a really important difference in approach. On the one hand, you have a fixed budget. It's rigid. You set it for one specific level of sales, and it never changes. So if your actual sales are different, comparing the two is like comparing apples and oranges. But on the other hand, you have a flexible budget. Now this is smart. It adapts. It can show you what your costs should have been for the sales you actually made. It's a way more powerful tool for figuring out how you're really doing. So far, we've looked at all the individual pieces of the budgeting puzzle. For our final section, let's put them all together and see what the finished picture looks like. And that finished picture is called the master budget. You can think of it as the final boss of budgeting. It's a complete set of all those individual budgets we've talked about, all interconnected, representing the company's total financial plan in one single, cohesive document. And at its heart, it really is this simple. You take all the detailed day-to-day operating budgets, you add in the high-level big-picture financial budgets, and what you get is the master budget. It's the ultimate financial blueprint for the entire company. And that brings me to what I think is the most important takeaway from all this. Budgets get a really bad rap. People think they're just about restriction and telling you what you can't do. But that's a total myth. A well-made budget is actually a tool for empowerment. It gives you the clarity and the focus you need to go out and achieve your biggest strategic goals.
And so, that's our journey through the world of business budgets. Now you have the map. So I'll leave you with this thought. We all have a great idea, right? Something you want to build or create. Thinking about everything we've covered, what's the very first budget you would need to start turning that great idea into a reality?